So, Donald finally emerged from whatever cave he was hiding in over the last few days, and he's exactly the same. I know, shocking. He came out to make some big announcements that turned out to be meaningless, really. But in the midst of it all, he managed to threaten yet another blue state, Colorado this time. We'll get to that.
Donald Trump has had opposition from all sides. However, it becomes impossible to ignore the debris when the demolition team arrives wearing their own last name on the helmet. Mary Trump is not merely critical of her uncle. She analyses him with the accuracy of a relative who has personally witnessed the flaws. She's lived the reality, so she doesn't need headlines or rumors. Furthermore, she offers more than simply a roast. It's a complete breakdown of Trump's meticulously crafted mythos.
Okay, obviously the big story of the week, although there are many other big stories we shouldn't ignore, but, is this Epstein stuff, right? Yeah. It appears your Uncle Donald, is kind of having a baby over this. He is starting to criticize his supporters. He's angry that many parts of MAGA seem quite fixated on this. I would just love to hear your reaction to the whole damn thing.
Yeah, well, the whole damn thing is fascinating, quite frankly, for many reasons. But let's start with what, I don't know if it's the most obvious one, but it's the most obvious one to me. Donald is somebody who has lived his entire life with complete impunity. Like, he's been able to get away with everything. And he thinks it's because he's a genius, right? He thinks it's because he's so all-powerful.
If you like this video, please click the bell symbol and subscribe to the channel. Mary Trump enters the arena brandishing her most lethal weapon, closeness. Critics, such as George Conway and Rosie O'Donnell, may criticize Trump's shortcomings from a distance. But Mary witnessed the dysfunction in the background growing up. She is aware of the origins of the insecurities, the emergence of the cracks, and how the ego balloon became so bloated that it now resembles a Macy's parade float floating over the White House. Because it is well informed, her roast is ruthless. It reveals the wiring underneath, not just the surface. She starts off by attacking Trump's childhood fixation with his image. She observes, Donald was molded by the necessity to represent brilliance rather than by a desire for it. He was motivated by surface rather than content. Mary characterizes him as the youngster who was only taught to value appearances rather than accomplishments. Because of this, every Trump endeavor has always focused more on branding than on actuality. Trump University, Trump Water, and Trump Steaks. As long as his name shone in gilded letters, none of it had to be successful. The male is a marketing gimmick in human form, not a leader, when it comes to marriage.
He can manipulate people to do whatever he wants them to do. But the truth of the matter is, it's because he's been enabled his whole life by people like my grandfather and others. And now, most recently, of course, it's been the Republican Party and, of course, his followers. What he doesn't understand is that he can't turn off the switch. Now, I understand why he would think that, because, again, he has gotten away with everything pretty much.
Then there is the vulnerability. Trump's thin skin has long been ridiculed by his detractors, but Mary expertly breaks it down. She characterizes him as a man who, having never been taught to accept weakness, conflates brutality with strength. Kindness appears to be weakness to Trump. Empathy appears to be a failure. He constantly lashes out because of this, disparaging critics, attacking comedians, and making fun of opponents. He isn't displaying authority. Mary contends that he is displaying fear. His taunts are more like shields than weapons, hurled frantically to shield the helpless youngster who is still afraid of being made fun of.
This is, or at least should be, a major setback for Donald's ongoing plan to take over any cities that don't abide by his rules or agree with him or support him. But here's the problem, and this is something we've come up against time and time again. Courts take time to render their judgment.
Trump's fixation on winning also serves as a fertile ground for satire. Mary notes that all of his accomplishments have been greatly overstated, and all of his failures have been downplayed, erased, or attributed to other people. He sits on the stack of cash his father gave him and brags about being a self-made guy. Despite his history of bankruptcy, he claims to be a business genius. Trump's marriage is less amogul and more like the child who cheats in Monopoly, turns the board after losing, and then demands that everyone still declare him the winner.
So it seems that this is the pattern. A blue state is already on the enemies list because blue states don't support Donald Trump. They don't vote for him. We hate his policies and we hate him. But sometimes it's a new thing that draws his ire, or I should probably say, becomes a handy excuse for his increasingly fascistic and hostile behavior towards blue cities and blue states.
Then there is the intense need for approval. According to Mary, Trump has never outgrown his desire for adulation and views every rally as a fix and every clap as oxygen. She contends that he is not in charge. The sound of his name is causing him to perform desperately. Policy is not the topic of his rallies. They have to do with therapy. He is a man who fills an insatiable need by conflating fleeting moments of love with enduring self-worth. Trump doesn't even consider lying to be tools. They are a matter of survival. He lies so instinctively that he is unable to stop, even if the truth wouldn't harm him. Mary makes fun of this as a compulsive behavior, comparing him to a magician who, despite the audience's complaints, cannot stop pulling scarves from his sleeve long after the trick is over. She contends that this defect was not created by the administration. It intensified it, turning his incapacity to speak the truth into a worldwide spectacle.
All of a sudden, there's nothing to see or hear move along. It isn't going to fly, and it is kind of fascinating that is this issue. But I think he does not know how to process it at all, because unbelievably, for those of us who believe in accountability and who believe he's done horrible things for decades now, he cannot process the fact that he doesn't control this.
When Mary delves into Trump's cruelty, the roast gets even more scathing. She presents him as a man who confuses weakness with kindness. Someone who was taught at a young age that you had to be vicious to survive in the family. However, he remains steadfast in his belief that one's strength is determined by the people one can degrade, rather than changing. For this reason, Mary contends that Trump divides through ridicule and controls through insults. However, since actual strength is quiet rather than loud, the joke is on him. Additionally, Trump has never been able to be quiet. She destroys his supposed independence as well. Trump enjoys portraying himself as the outsider, the lone warrior, and the man who got to the top on his own. Mary, however, quickly notes that his life is completely different. This is the point at which the humor becomes brilliant. Mary doesn't have to make things up. Trump's record is self-evident. The failing products, the bankrupt casinos, the incessant contradictions, and the tirades on Twitter.
Colorado got singled out because it has mail-in voting. Illinois has been singled out because Governor J.B. Pritzker has been very vocal about Donald and his fascism. New York has been singled out, well, because it's New York, and we've known for decades exactly who this pathetic moron is.
Mary only juxtaposes the facts, highlighting their ridiculousness. He is the only individual who, in her opinion, could fail while operating a casino. The sole leader capable of transforming a news conference into a disastrous stand-up. The sole president who uses television ratings to gauge success. Every observation turns into a joke. Every memory has a setup. Trump's fixation on loyalty is also criticized. He provides it to no one but demands it from everyone. According to Mary, he is the type of man who demands unwavering allegiance, yet discards supporters as soon as they are no longer helpful. His concept of loyalty is not reciprocal. It's enslavement. Mary makes fun of Trump's penchant for associating with sycophants, who mistake flattery with camaraderie. She contends that the outcome is a president who lives in an echo chamber where adulation drowns out facts. The irony of legacy comes next. Trump isn't a monument to Mary. He is a meme that will endure as a cultural joke rather than a politician.
And do you think that his lashing out at his supporters is just a sign of his inability to comprehend this pushback, and that's why he's kind of lashing out?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's that. I think it's also it's insecurity, right? It's his understanding on some level.
The very reason Mary's roast is so terrible is that it's full of both intelligence and humor. She does more than just make fun of him in public. She reveals the infantile yearning that lies beneath the bluster by exposing him as a family member. Trump is frequently portrayed as a monster by his detractors. Mary, however, goes farther. She portrays him as tragic, a man who created a whole character based on denial because he was so afraid of being unimportant. The source of all the cruelty, dishonesty, and insecurity is the same: a phobia of being typical. By the time Mary is done, Trump's reputation has not only been damaged, but completely destroyed. In addition to being naked, the emperor is shown as the terrified child who is still attempting to win over an unsatisfied parent. Because Mary Trump ultimately destroys the myth her uncle created, rather than merely disparaging him. The worst part is that she doesn't even have to make a lot of effort.
One of the things he's most afraid of is being found out. To be, to have people understand that everything about him that's projected publicly is based on a myth. That he's literally nothing of who he claims to be. He's nothing other people have purported him to be, starting with my grandfather, who's the man responsible for having created this myth.
Mary Trump also criticizes Donald's treatment of women throughout his public life, not just in politics. She presents a picture of a man who continuously expects women to admire him while giving them little more than contempt in return. For Mary, it's insecurity posing as power rather than merely misogyny. She portrays her uncle as someone who boasts about conquest out of fear of becoming irrelevant. A person who surrounds himself with beauty as though being close to it could mask his inner turmoil. According to her, the irony is that he views women as awards yet is plagued by the fear that he would never receive the real prize. When someone no longer fits his image, he demands it, hoards it, and discards them. She likens a vending machine to his notion of loyalty. If you offer him safety and admiration, he will allow you to stay. However, you are ejected the moment you hesitate. She contends that this is not strength. It's leadership disguised as cowardice.